We are here on the floor out of Chicago on the last day, Sunday. We're here with Blake. Thank you for taking the time to come out.
Thank you, appreciate it.
So you are from f.64 Academy, right?
That's correct.
So how long have you been doing that for?
About 4 months.
About 4 months, excellent. So this is a new direction you've been going in, right?
It is, yeah.
So where did you come from? Before you started that, where did you come from? What was your roots in photography?
It was mainly HDR. Started HDR photography in 2010. I had a blog called Everyday HDR, a YouTube channel that went along with it called Everyday HDR, and then I had to kind of change directions because my photography was evolving in a direction that was out of the HDR realm. So I kind of rebranded it over to f.64 Academy to open it all up so I'm not niched into a corner of HDR.
Okay, and we were talking about Sony. Has your HDR evolved because Sony does have more dynamic range right in your camera there, or was it just a progression just because you kind of got done with it?
It's kind of a little bit of both.
Okay.
You know, when I started, I had an Olympus E30. It was a 2008 camera.
Okay.
Dynamic range of about 10 stops. So it was almost necessary for me to get what I needed to get out of my exposures, to tone map, you know, multiple exposures to get all the information I needed. So now with a Sony, I have much less of that. You know, it's more like one exposure. I can do a lot. I can push and pull that exposure and beat it up in many directions, and it just holds its own the whole time.
Yeah, I've seen some friends that just like, you know, don't even use like the fill light, or it's not even called fill light anymore, you know, but bring up the shadows and everything. It's just like, they're like, no, I don't need to do that. Just bring it up and you're like done. It's HDR'd.
Yeah.
So what camera are you using? Which Sony?
A7R2 and sidearm is an A6000.
And you're using the Sony lenses, or are you adapting? I know a lot of people are still adapting Canon lenses and stuff too.
Yeah, I'm a little hybridized. You know, I have like the Frankenstein setup with the Metabones adapters on some of my Canon glass. But my heavy hitters, my wide angles, you know, the most common lenses, your 50, your wide angle, those are all Sony based. And then the lenses that I put on every once in a while, I Metabones adapt, just so I can use them for both cameras if I ever need to. So a little bit of both.
Nice. And how are you liking the Sony system? It's working out a lot better for you? Because I came from Canon too, so I tested them all out. It had a really nice image there.
It is. I mean, you know, it just comes down to what you're going to do with the image and how far you want to take that, you know, and it gives me that ability, so I'm good with that.
Excellent. So with the new direction that you know, f.64, what's your main goals with, you know, helping people get better out there? Where are you going with it?
That's a good question. If you look at the history of the term f.64, it's from Ansel Adams' group f.64 with the Mogg and Cunningham and Ansel Adams, the Westons, you know, some great photographers that paved the way for great photography for us. And I'm kind of taking their spin on great photography and moving it in the spin of great education.
Okay.
So they were about tack sharp photography to make photography an art form again without having that pictorialist, soft focus look. I'm more about tack sharp education. Get to the point, make it fix your problem, and get you to the point where you're making better photographs more efficiently, more effectively. And as an academy, we're anyone who's a part of this is holding themselves to a higher standard, a standard of excellence that far exceeds just watching a tutorial, you know, looking at changing the mindset.
So we were chatting the other night about YouTube and all that stuff. So you've been doing YouTube for a long time. What, 8 years?
5 years. Yeah.
5 years. So you've been doing YouTube for 5 years. Is the new academy, is that both online and in person, or is it just online, or are you doing workshops as well?
Yeah, it's kind of a mix of things. Like right now, f.64 Academy is like the free stuff that I put on YouTube, and then I have a subscription site called f.64 Elite, where instead of these little mini tutorials here, which are very helpful, it goes into critique sessions with individuals. It goes into longer courses that are maybe an hour long as opposed to 5 minutes on YouTube. There's a community there, there's a forum there so that they can interact and get to know one another. So it runs the gamut really. And I also do workshops with another buddy of mine. He does Shutter-Click Adventures, so we kind of mix that with the f.64 Academy stuff, and it's working out pretty well.
So what's your primary focus lately, and new projects maybe you're working on photography-wise out of the education side?
You know, I'm always experimenting. I'm always finding something new. I like to pick up things that are old school, like, you know, a Polaroid SX70 camera, and play with the old stuff to see how I can incorporate that into the new stuff, new styles. You know, we look at things like Instagram, we look at, you know, those one-off kind of filter looks, and we have to go back to the roots of that. Well, that comes from that Instamatic look, the Polaroid look. Well, how do we diagnose that, dig into it, and elaborate on that? So a lot of my courses, they cover things that I want to experiment with, maybe infrared photography. Let's do a whole course on infrared. Let's do a whole course on printing, because I'm just getting into printing again now. So it really runs all over the place of what I want to teach, but it's more directed towards what others want to learn also. So I do surveys with my individuals saying, hey, what do you want to see? Because I don't want to show you something that you don't want to see.
Sure.
I ask them, I get the group to kind of to pull in, and then I'll research the topic for them essentially, and then create a course for them. So.
Awesome, very cool. Yeah. So it's personalized too then?
It's very personalized, yeah.
Nice. So there's not many sites that do that. No. They just kind of keep putting content out there, and it's like hope that someone watches it or force it down their throats. So.
And I used to do that with HDR Insider was a website that I did that with, and it got to a point, I did it for 2.5 years, and I was just like, man, this is Blake on the pulpit, and I just keep talking, and people keep listening, and I didn't like it because it wasn't an organic growth. It was just me guessing on what people wanted to see. So this is organic, completely organic. What do you want to see? What do you want to do? And I don't want to be the one that's always at the top telling you. I want to have live events with panel discussions with individuals in there to incorporate the whole community, not just me. So.
Awesome. Yeah. So one thing we always ask our photographers is what never fails to inspire you as an artist?
I'd say looking back at history, I picked up Ansel Adams' books, almost all of them, and he has these books called The Camera, the Print, and the Negative, and I think I have that out of order. It's The Camera, the Negative, and the Print. And those 3 books, I can always look back at those and learn something, and they were written in like 1982, like when I was born, so I can look back at those. I get more inspired and learn more from the photographers of the past because I think we're kind of losing some of that high quality, education. That these people are writing these really big, thick books all about a negative, 250 pages on a negative. And you don't know how important that is now, even in the digital world, to see that kind of stuff.
They had to slow down and take their time, and our generation now is just like click, 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 and take thousands of images instead of really, slowing down. They didn't have the luxury of doing that. They just, had to get the shot.
Right.
So, very cool. Well, I know you have to get off to class, so I don't want to keep you here too long. Can you tell everyone where they can find out more about you and about the Academy?
Sure. I'm at f64academy.com and f64elite.com. And on the YouTube channel, it's at f64 academy. So awesome. Anything you want to know is all there.
Awesome. Perfect. Well, have a great class, and thank you for taking the time to stop in here.
I appreciate it. Thank you for